respected medical director, my seniors and my colleagues. Today we will here discuss one of the unventured rather new topic, relatively new topic, that is cord blood preservation and stem cell therapy, some applications of stem cell therapy. To begin with, as we know, stem cells are valuable, limited resource. The stem cells are basically fully potent. They can be considered master cells. It has been divided into various types like umbilical cord, vesicle blood, amniotic fluid, adipose tissue, and embryonic cells. So each type, it has been broadly categorized into three different categories. That is, one is embryonic stem cell, other one is newborn stem cell, and third one is adult stem cells. Each type has some own advantages as well as disadvantages. In embryonic stem cells, it has a limited supply, number one. Number two, it is a pluripotent cell, no doubt, but in clinical application, it has transformed into malignant cells or tumor formation. So the clinical application is very limited. We will discuss on the other one, that is cord blood and umbilical cord. The third one, that is adult stem cell, you know much, that is bone marrow and peripheral blood. So we are not going in detail. Going by the history, in 1968, first bone marrow transplant was done in US, that is from the adult stem cell. Down in the line, in the year 1998, first experimental use of embryonic stem cell was done, but the success was very limited. In 2006, researchers identified embryonic-like stem cells in amniotic fluid. In 2007, a JAMA study demonstrated use of adult stem cells to delay insulin-dependent diabetes type 1. So, the cord blood cells, that is cord blood stem cells, have a very untapped potential because it can be easily collected. Long-term cryopreservation has no adverse effect. Clinical studies over the past 20 years demonstrated efficacy and safety of the cord blood cells. Currently, cord blood derived stem cells are clinical utility in more than 70 diseases, whereas just 10 years ago it was only for the 2 diseases. Banking cells for future therapies have been validated by most of the ethic committee as well as science. Cord blood cells possess a significant future potential through expansion, gene therapy and cell-specific therapies. So this is the, you can see from the graph, there is an increasing number of cord stem cell year by year, cord stem cell transplants year by year, in that, right from 1996 to 2007. The recent figures will be shown by Dr. Chaudhary. As I have told, more than 70 diseases, chronic or life-threatening diseases has been treated or with some success. The most notable are type 1 diabetes, thalassemia, sickle cell anemia, aplastic anemia, and lot of in the list. It is not exhaustive, it is just the important ones. So, in regenerative therapies, the stem cell must be pluripotent, have the ability to differentiate into specific cell type. In control, that should be in control, must be able to safely and effectively work with existing cells and tissues to improve and repair function. It should not transfer into tumor formation. Embryonic stem cells are able to differentiate into many different cell types, but once placed within the study animal, may rise to tumor formation. So the application of the embryonic stem cell is very limited. Now this cord blood stem cells appear to be primitive enough to differentiate into multiple cell types, yet mature enough to work within the body's existing framework. So there is least possibility of tumor formation. So these are some of the areas where regenerative medicines has been used, like heart disease, diabetes, stroke recovery, Parkinson's disease, brain and spinal cord injury, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, muscular dystrophy, and liver disease. And speaking this slide. So it is becoming a public health policy. Every pregnant woman should be educated about benefits of cord blood stem cells and informed of options for banking prior to her 3rd term. More than 2/3 of US pregnancies occur in states that have been enacted legislation on cord blood education. So the greatest threat to progress is not the ignorance, but rather the illusion of knowledge. So to enlighten our knowledge and to remove our illusion, we have today with us Dr. Prashanto Chaudhary. Dr. Prashanto Chaudhary is a known figure to most of our seniors. He has graduated from Bardhaman Medical College, trained in pediatrics and stem cell application. He has done diploma in clinical management of thalassemia from European School of Hematology. He has also done fellowship in stem cell application from Milan, Italy. Presently, he is working as a medical director of Cord Life Sciences Private Limited, India. May I request Dr. Prashanto Chaudhary for his presentation, please.
Good morning. What Dr. Bera has presented possibly covers 3/4 of my lecture. But fortunately, he hasn't covered everything, as he left something for me. So this place is not very new. I have been here before, but all the time I was sitting on the other side of the dais. So, good morning. Let's see what we can gather. This is one person. I don't know how many of you recognize him. Can you recognize this person on the wheelchair? Any suggestions from the audience? Any cinema buffs?
James Bond.
Christopher Reeve.
Yes, it's Christopher Reeve. So, it's Christopher Reeve. Who's supposed to be? He is less known as Christopher Reeve, more known as Superman. He used to fly around on the screen. One day he landed up, fracturing his cervical spine after getting dropped from his horse while he was having surgery. He had some fashion towards equestrian events. After that, he was paralyzed, neck downwards. He always hoped that he will be able to walk, might be able to fly again on the screen. He is still the Reeve Foundation's founder, and his wife is still carrying out this foundation. And he is the greatest contributor towards stem cell research in the US. So my entire lecture is dedicated to Mr. Christopher Reeve, the Superman. What I have named this lecture as, this is a new horizon between pharmacotherapeutics. Today, what we always try to do is, we always try to think that we would give a particular therapy to a particular person, thinking about medicines and medicines. What else? What after that? And what before medicines? All of us as doctors, we've thought about one thing. Would this medicine work? Would this medicine cause an allergy? Would this medicine cause an immune rejection? That answer can also be sought through stem cells. So, what are stem cells? Can anyone in the audience tell me? What are stem cells? Like, I don't want to have a lecture type of a session. If it's an interactive thing, I think it will be very good. Any suggestions? What are stem cells?
This is undifferentiated cell,
Yes, sir. Anything else?
which can transform to any type of things.
They have the ability for division and differentiation. They may be pluripotent, they may be.
Okay. There is a question when people tell that it is an undifferentiated cell. They say it is a non-terminally differentiated cell. There is a bit of a difference between that. Some people say it is the most intelligent cell in the whole body because it can transform itself to any terminally differentiated cell and can mimic the function and repopulate that particular tissue. That's very important. If it can repopulate a particular tissue, why call it a stem cell? Now the nomenclature is slowly changing to calling it a master cell or a mother cell. He had shown the history. I would go a bit back. Way back in 1942, a particular scientist, a Bengali scientist in the USA by the name of Dr. Gopal Das, he was performing experiments on the effect of radiation on mice. He was giving killing radiation dose of about 15 gray to white mice, and the white mice was having entire lymphocytic depletion and the mice was dying. So he was thinking of what to do, why is it dying, what are the effects, how can the mice be rescued. What he did was, he crushed the bone marrow of another mice, and just after giving the radiation, he took the bone marrow derived concoction and gave it to the irradiated mice. And that mice didn't die. It had islands in the spleen. It had islands in the spleen. These splenic islands were actually manufacturing blood. So he started thinking, where did this come from? It came from the bone marrow. And this Bengali scientist in the US first used the word stem cells, because he thought as a whole tree, including another flower, a fruit, a seed, and another tree can be grown from a stem, it is put into the proper soil and watered. Same for this kind of cells. If these cells can be put into the proper environment, it can grow into any cell of the body and can repopulate a tissue. After that, Professor Donald Thomas in the year 1968 performed the first stem cell transplantation for an acute lymphoblastic leukemia. It was a sister's bone marrow given to the brother who was suffering from leukemia, and that person got cured. But as the medical fraternity, of whom we are all proud of killing the creator of Durga, I think you know who Durga is, the first test tube baby, the same thing prevailed, and it's still prevailing everywhere. He got, fortunately, the Nobel Prize in Physiology in 1988. So it took the entire medical community to realize what stem cell can do. Not very much, just 20 years. But after that, everyone started thinking, if it's the bone which contains the bone marrow which can reconstitute the blood forming organs, a child who's born doesn't really have bones. Most of its bones are cartilage. Where is the child's blood coming from? The question was answered. It was from the yolk sac, the liver and the spleen, because the bone marrow yet not had taken it over. And the blood which was being formed in the yolk sac was being transferred through the umbilical cord to the baby. So she thought that this particular umbilical cord should be containing the stem cells which are also contained in bone marrow. And she was right. She did a transplant using, again, a sister's cord blood to a brother who was suffering from Fanconi's anemia. It was done in France. And again, that child got cured. Unfortunately, Professor L.D. Gluckman hasn't received a Nobel Prize yet, but she had started a revolution. 4 years after that, another case occurred. There, again a bone marrow transplantation a stem cell derived from umbilical cord blood was done. And the child, due to the chemotherapy, was suffering from toxic cardiomyopathy. After the transplantation, it was realized by the mother 3 months post-transplant that the child was not taking the cardiac medicines anymore. That means the child was not needing it. And an endomyocardial biopsy from the child's heart was done. And it was found that about 3/4 of the population of the heart muscle actually contained XX chromosome. That means those who were derived phylogenetically from the cells that was derived from his sister. This is when the total hue and cry about stem cells started. Then people started understanding that somatic cells can make germ cells, but stem cells can make germ cells as well as somatic cells. So these are the basic cell types of the body. Now, let us talk about, you was talking about cells like embryonic stem cells, fetal stem cells and adult stem cells. This is basically a nomenclature depending on what is the source from which we derive the stem cells. If the source is an embryo, we call it an embryonic stem cell. If it's a fetus, we call it a fetal stem cell. If it's an adult, then we call it an adult stem cell. But today, if anyone asks any of us here to go back down to class 10 and start studying accountancy, what would it be like? Would you be able to do it? Possibly not, because we are terminally differentiated. So we require someone in the middle where the decision has not yet been taken where this person is going to ultimately land up, because we take our decision in class 10, class 12, somewhere there. So this is the question. A cell which is derived from an embryo, that can only be done in an IVF clinic where you generate embryos and there is excess embryo, you freeze it, and then you kill the life to get those cells. What's the next one? There is an abortion. So a fetus is taken out and you can harvest cells from the fetus. You can call it the fetal stem cells. Again, that is unethical. But cell from my body, as stem cells reside in every body tissue, starting from brain, ending to the skin, of course, intestine, lungs, blood, bone marrow, everything contains stem cells. But their differentiating capacity and their terminal differentiation or transdifferentiation capacity is limited. A brain will regenerate, but up to how much? Possibly in 6 years it is going to regenerate 2.5 millimeter. If you cut half the liver, doctor is sitting here, I think it regenerates, it is going to regenerate the other half within 6 months. And actually when you transplant a liver, you don't really require a whole liver to be transplanted. You just transplant a wedge of it and it regenerates. So the regeneration capacity is there. And you will be very surprised to know the liver actually doesn't regenerate from the liver. It regenerates from the biliary radicals that is there. The biliary radical, the duct epithelium, transforms into liver cells, and that is what repopulates the liver. So all of us have got that regenerating capacity. But then what's the problem? The problem is our cells have become too stiff. It is not malleable. It cannot transform from one cell type to another. Even if it can, it is limited. And number two, the cell population, the stem cell population of our body actually slowly gets reduced by the years that we grow. So number one, our stem cell population is limited. Number two, these cells are very stiff. So what can we do? In Bengali, we've got a saying known as Shonar Pathor Bati. I think you've heard of it. That means it's a bowl of gold in stone. Is it possible? God knows if it is possible or not. But in medical therapy, possibly it's possible, because the stem cells which are derived from umbilical cord blood, theoretically, it is fetal stem cell because it is derived from the child who's just born. It has its chronological age is 0. But after the child is born, it is by definition again adult stem cell. And it is a recycling of waste because we don't really use the placenta, neither the cord, nor the blood contained within the cord after the baby's cord is cut and separated. So this is the cells which is adult on the outside, what fetal at heart. So that is the cell we are talking about. So what are the cells that are contained in the umbilical cord blood? The umbilical cord blood contains all the constituents of normal human blood. Other than that, it has got a few regulatory T cells. If this is how we do it. This is the plasma, that's the nucleated cells, and that is the RBC. What we are really talking about is the regulatory T cells and the stem cells which are present. There are 3 types of stem cells which are present in umbilical cord blood. They are known as hematopoietic stem cells, though there is a controversy in the naming of this, because now we know that the hematopoietic stem cells can not only reconstitute the bone marrow, but can also give rise to blood capillaries. It can also give rise to heart muscle. So now no one calls a hematopoietic stem cell a hematopoietic stem cell, but this nomenclature still continues. It also contains mesenchymal stem cells, means these are the stem cells which are derived from the middle portion of the embryo or the mesoderm, which can make all the solid organs of the body. And it contains another embryonic stem cell in the umbilical cord blood, which is named as the unidentified stem cell. This was an experiment which was done long back, in which the most primitive marker of stem cell is known as OCT4. OCT4 is an antibody marker. All the cells were tagged with iron beads and it was incubated. Then it was passed through a particular machine known as the magnetic assorted cell sorter, or MAX. Theoretically, if we have tagged all the primitive cells correctly and we pass it through MAX, the MAX actually contains a magnet on the outside, and we pour the stem cells, like let's take a very crude example, like the person who comes in the morning with our milk is trying to put it in through the top funnel, and I've got all the anti-milk properties on this side. Then if I pour the milk from the top, there should be nothing coming out at the bottom, because the outside is coated with anti-milk and the milk is going to stick to the anti-milk. Am I clear? It's not clear, I guess. Is it clear? Okay. So now I have tagged all these stem cells in the umbilical cord blood with OCT4 and I run it from the top. If I have identified all my undifferentiated stem cells correctly, then there should be nothing coming out at the bottom, right? But it was seen that even after tagging it with the most primitive markers, there was a residue at the bottom. We took it out. The cells were big mononuclear cells. We couldn't identify what it was. Then we injected it into a mice known as knockout mice intraperitoneally. And it was seen that it grew into a teratoma. I don't have to explain to you what a teratoma is, because all of you know it. That is where people thought that, my God, we thought umbilical cord blood contains only fetal stem cells. Now we know it contains embryonic stem cells also. That was a a great breakthrough. After that, a lot of water has passed through the Ganges, and we have thought about how to use it. While using it, there is a conventional use, there is an upcoming use, and there is a use in future. What is the use now? Or from an Indian perspective, what is the use in India? The Indian perspective uses, we use it for transplantation. Transplantation is a very common word. It is used by everybody colloquially. But stem cell therapy today is the answer to all hematological malignancies. Because if a person relapses after the third chemotherapy induction cycle, the doctor is going to tell you, get the stem cells from somewhere, I want to transplant. And in case of pediatric oncology cases, in acute lymphoblastic leukemia, possibly after the first cycle of chemotherapy, if it's a male child where you've got a chance of relapse in the brain as well as in the testes, you'd better go in for a stem cell transplant because that's a cure. That's true for all liquid malignancies. Let us talk about solid malignancies. Retinoblastoma, nephroblastoma, bone cancer, that is osteosarcoma. These are today curable, including breast cancers, because it has been realized that breast cancer sicklings are there in the bone marrow. These 4 today are curable. This is for anyone who has got the stem cell and got an HLA match, you can cure it. What about the others? Diseases like thalassemia, sickle cell disease, aplastic anemia, Fanconi syndrome, Diamond-Blackfan. All these are curable again allogenically. That means anyone else's cord blood can be given if there's an HLA match. In fact, a person who's suffering from thalassemia cannot get his or her own cord blood because that stem cell actually contains diseased stem cells. So someone else's stem cells has to be given and that gets cured. What are we looking at in future? It's not really the future, it has come along. We are looking at regeneration of the neurons in case of cerebral palsy. We are looking at regeneration of the liver in biliary atresia. We are looking at curing of type 1 diabetes mellitus and once on insulin exhaustion, type 2 diabetes mellitus also. We are looking at multiple sclerosis. We are looking at myopathies. We are looking at heart attack, stroke, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. The list is endless. It is going on throughout the world, and now controlled trials results are slowly coming into us and we really know what's happening. It is not a cock and bull story. It is not the Amar Chitra Gatha. It is there, it's happening. So, in this, I have just given you the transplantation where it's a replacement of the bone marrow. But therapy till yesterday was science fiction. Do you know this person? I guess all of you know him. Okay. He has got, the creator is not Vishnu. Vishnu is the person who maintains everything. God knows, possibly he knows, why he created Brahma the creator out of the lotus which came out from his navel. These are very crude things, it's a food for thought because the Indian mythology has got all these analogies of the Pushpakrat being the helicopter or the that whatever in Brahmastra being the atomic bomb. This is another food for thought. I don't think anyone thought about it. That why did Brahma have to come out of the Nabhi Kamal of Vishnu? Possibly he knew about stem cells pluripotency at that time. Now what can stem cells do? This is one question we always asked. Why did the Almighty want to maintain a stock of very primitive cells in an extremely specialized environment? The answer is, the stem cells are there, present in the body, in an unspecialized, undifferentiated state, such that at times of need, they can be coaxed to generate specialized cells to replace and replete diseased, damaged and degenerated cells. So that is the essence of the whole therapy. I don't want to go into the whole lecture because it's going to become very boring. I'll just talk about 2 or 3 things and then end here and like to invite questions so that the understanding is much better. There are a few things which are coming up. All of us know, I'll just give you the pathophysiology and the treatment, how it is occurring. I've already shown you that the umbilical cord blood or the umbilical cord tissue contains regulatory T cells and a few mesenchymal cells, let's say hematopoietic stem cells, or you can call it again any other stem cell, an undifferentiated stem cell. Let us take the example of a heart attack. If there is a myocardial infarction, there is less perfusion in the myocardium, and there is blood supply becomes less due to some reason. It might be a clot, it might be a bleed, whatever, and the muscle distal to that end artery dies due to loss of nutrition, and there is increase of carbon dioxide. It's not really that the oxygen becoming less kills it, it's actually the carbon dioxide becoming more kills it. Now, once these myocardium slowly gets killed, it starts liberating some cytokines, which is type of an SOS type, help, 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 I am dying. Now, if you can get cells which you can infuse from the outside, which can differentiate into any cells that you want, has got a radar like of a mechanism. By the radar, it can catch all the cytokines and then move it like a ship moving through the blood vessels towards the source of that particular cytokine and home there. Once it homes, the abnormal immunological mechanism which is there due to the death of the cells is actually set right. That is, we call it the immune dysregulation, becomes regulated by the naivety of the T lymphocytes or the regulatory T lymphocytes which are present in the umbilical cord blood stem cells. After that is done, that the immunity or the rejection is taken care of, then the mesenchymal stem cells go and regenerate new myocardium. And there are mesenchymal stem cells which grow the new capillaries. So it is like a medical